Hello again and welcome to another Black Templar Friday video. So, it's going to be Friday. I'm going to release this video and it's going to be about Black Templars. For once, we're actually doing a proper Black Templar Friday video. Absolutely fantastic. So, it's about a week after I did the doubles tournament and, feeling a little bit out from Warhammer. Done a lot, played a lot of cult, played a lot of infantry. But what I wanted to do is a video on not just Black Templars, to be fair, but a lot of my experience for this video comes from Black Templars. But on mass Marines and how I believe, and this, I could be wrong, but my experience points to the contrary, that they are one of the most competitive ways of running Adeptus Societies, running pure infantry mass marine. Okay? Now, what are my credentials for making such a statement? Well, I've been running a Black Templar Black Tide of 100 Marines plus supporting characters for well over a year now. And I've had great success that I built the army purely as a fluff project. I just wanted to. I'd never owned a Space Marine army before, and I was like, I love the Black Templars. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it Black Templar style. I'm going mass infantry. I love hordes. Let's take a horde of Marines. So it started off as a fluff concept, but then I kept, as I was building the army, I playtested. I still wanted to be able to win games with it, so I playtested it, and I kept finding I was winning games, and I kept finding things were working. And the more Marines I took, the better I was doing, and the less things that weren't Marines that I took, the better I was doing. So that's what I've taken my Black Templars to tournaments and done respectfully well. For example, last tournament I took them to was a one-dayer, and I won 2 out of 3 games. The one game I lost was by, I believe it was like 1 or 2 points. And the reason I lost is that it was ITC, and I didn't realise when Armigers first came out, Baby Knights, and I didn't realise they did not have the Titanic keyword, and I chose Titan Killer as my secondary. And I got no points for it because I didn't realise his armour just didn't count. I thought Knights are Knights. So there you go. So I almost won that game. The other 2 games I won handily with the Black Tide versus 2 Imperial Guard gunlines, and this was pre-nerf Imperial Guard. So it was a feat, to say the least. So not wanking myself off here too much, not stroking my ego too much, but I have the success to back up what I'm saying, that I believe mass Marines are very, very good. Now, I've been trying mass Marines out in different formats recently. Specifically, I've been looking into running mass Chaos Space Marines, with the reasoning behind that being, well, they've recently had a release, and they can take blocks of 20 Chaos Space Marines. That's all with power armor, whereas Black Templars can take blocks of 20 men, but 10 of them have to be neophytes, and 10 of them have to be initiates, which basically means I have 10 scouts with only 4 up save and 10 guys with 3 up save. So I thought, well, what if I could take everyone with a 3 up save? Surely that would be better. Well, I've had a few games with my Chaos now, and unfortunately I've lost both. But what it's allowed me to do is gain a great perspective on how to run a successful mass. If we're talking competitive here, guys. We're talking you can go to a tournament and not get smashed every game. Okay? Like, most people will tell you if you try and take Marines to a tournament, you're going to lose. Pure Marine. Okay? You're going to lose every game. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case if you take mass Marine, okay? So the key is you have to find a good balance, right? So, quick drink. So, 20-man units are a bit of a trap. And the first thing I want to say, first thing I want to say is I think you want to go Loyalist Marines, not Chaos Space Marines. You can do it with Chaos Space Marines, but I think you want to go Loyalist Marines if you want to be more competitive. Okay? The reasoning behind this is you have access to captains, chapter masters, and lieutenants. Okay? Whereas Chaos Space Marines, you only really have access to your Chaos Lord. You do have things like Dark Apostles now, which can give you a +1 to hit, and you do have access to things like Prescience, which can give you +1 to hit, and you do have things like Veterans of the Long War to give you +1 to wound. So there are some things there, but the fact of the matter is that Dark Apostles, well, one Dark Apostle costs with 2 minions costs almost double what 2 lieutenants will cost you. And those lieutenants buff everyone in an aura, whereas a Dark Apostle only can buff 1 unit with Warp Sight Plea for +1 to hit. And Chaos Lords only give you reroll 1s to hit, but you can always make a captain or take a chapter master in your, or make a captain into a chapter master as Space Marines and get reroll all hits. So I definitely think Loyalist is the way to go if you want to go for a shooting mass marine army. Okay, now that's the first thing to say. I think Loyalists do it better. Now, the second thing, and the reason for that is their buffs are auras, whereas Chaos Space Marine buffs are pick a unit. And the problem with that is it makes you want to take 20-man squads. And I think 20-man squads are a trap. I don't think they're what you want to do. I've stress tested this now. I don't think it's how you want to run a top-level competitive mass marine army. Because if you take a 20-man Chaos Space Marine squad, you only get 2 special weapons and a combi weapon. If you take a 10-man squad, you get the same thing. So the extra 10 men are just bolters. It's kind of a trap. It's kind of a waste. But that means if you do just take 10-man squads, you're only buffing 10-man squads. 1 at a time. With your stratagems and your Warp Sight Plea and your Prescience. Whereas Marines, as Loyalist Marines, you're buffing everyone within 6 inches. You can take multiple characters. You can only do 1 prayer a turn of the same prayer, 1 spell a turn, same spell for your Chaos. With Loyalists, you can everyone's in the reroll 1s buff, reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound, or reroll all hits and reroll 1s to wound. So you definitely want to be looking at Loyalists, I think. Okay, now there's a big thing about, do you take multiple 5-man squads, or do you take 10-man squads, or do you take 20-man squads? Now, we're talking not just we're talking obviously Black Templar here, but this can also be extrapolated out to tactical squads, but you don't get to go up to 20-man, okay? Black Templar Crusader squads, you can take a special, a combi, and a heavy in a 5-man squad. You don't need to go up to 10-man squads, okay? But you could also, again, you could take 20 men in a blob. But again, Black Templars, you take 20 men in 1 squad. Problem is, you still only get 1 special, 1 heavy, and 1 combi. So those extra 10 guys don't really add a lot of firepower. Okay, now the other problem I've had is if you take 5-man squads, well, guess what? You've got a special, you've got a combi, and you've got a heavy. Probably like las cannon, plasma gun, combi plasma, right? That means you've only got 2 bolter guys. Now, that means you've only got 2 guys that you're willing to chuck in front to die first before you start losing firepower. Which means it actually means, whilst you've got good damage output, you've got really bad durability, and your damage output is going to tail off very quickly. So whilst it might sound a bit like a Goldilocks situation, I have found that 10-man squads are definitely the way to go. Or roughly, if you're going tactical marines, you want to be taking 10-man squads. If you're going Black Templar, you can go 9, 10, 11-man squads. Just more than 5 is the key here. Now, weapons. It's natural for you to instinctively go for things like plasma across the board. right? Natural for you to do that. Totally understand it. Plasma's great, right? Well, yes and no. If you take too much, this is what I found when I was running with my Chaos. I was going all plasma all the way. I was proxying it, but I was all plasma all the way. The problem I found was that I didn't have a variety of weapons, and weirdly, even though plasma should be better than melter, with my Black Tide, I found every game I was grateful I had a melter gun sprinkled in here and there. I got a lot of plasma in my Black Tide. It's probably 60% plasma, 40% other weapons. But there was always a point in a game when I was like, thank God I had a melter gun, because I needed to do 2d6, pick the highest wounds. I needed that. You know, you've got a rampaging dreadnought, you've got to take it down. You've got an enemy character that just has to absolutely positively die. You know, you might as well, if you're going to sneak a wound through, you might as well sneak a melter gun wound through. 2d6, liquidate them. It's very, very useful. I can't tell you the amount of times I fired an overcharged plasma gun and my opponents made 2-5 but feel no pains. Happened to us all. It's happened to us all. So, having a variety of weapons is important. This is also kind of linked to what we were talking about before in the previous videos this week, is sort of maneuverability and gunlining. You don't just want to be shooting. Okay, it's very important you have a mixture of shooting and close combat. Now, my Black Templars, I have 6 close combat squads and 4 shooting squads, but every single one of my close combat squads does have a plasma gun or a special weapon and a combi weapon, alright? Which does mean they also contribute a hell of a lot to shooting. You can't expect to run across the field with 100 guys with just close combat weapons and win. On the flip side, you can't expect to run across to gunline or march across the field of battle with just guns and not expect to get caught up and tied up in close combat. So you have to decide what you want to do about that. Now, as Black Templars, it's very easy for me. My Crusader squads are flexible. I can just take close combat weapons in my infantry squads. If you're running a different chapter, you're going to have to start looking at how you want to play this. Do you want to have some cheap, bare bones, not even jump pack assault marine squads? Just as chainsword, close combat stuff. Add a power weapon or 2 in there. Maybe. Or another option is, you do need to consider it. Another option is you need to go ultramarines. Because ultramarines, if you get tied up in combat, guess what? You can just fall back and still shoot. Yeah, sure, it's -1, but you still fall back and shoot. So consider that. Salamanders are good as well, because obviously you can take, it removes the need for you to really have captains and lieutenants in the Salamander's army. Because you get to reroll 1 hit and 1 wound dice, and you just put that on your multi-melter or something. Now, that's how I would run a Black Tide. That's the general concept. That's how I'd run mass marines. So that's the tools. That's the way of thinking. 10-man squads. Another reason you want to think about 10-man squads, right? Is it allows you to get a serious amount of firepower on the field of battle. I run 10-man squads, my Black Templars. Now, if you factor in power weapons as special weapons, I have some power weapons in there, then every single squad has between 3 and 4 special equipment. 4 squads have got heavy bolter, plasma gun, combi weapon. That's 12 special weapons right there in 4 squads. The other 6 squads have got 4 special weapons in there. Got a power weapon on an initiate, power weapon and a combi weapon on a sword brother, and I've got a special weapon as well. Okay, so that's a lot of, that's 6 times 4, that's 24 plus 12, 36 specialist equipment in my Black Tide army. And we've not even got the special characters yet. We've all got things like Crazy Arcadums or Power Swords, which of course totally count as well. So we're probably looking at easily over 40 bits of specialist equipment in my Black Templar army, plus 100 Marines. That's a lot of damage output, and a lot of durability, and a lot of bodies. And speaking of durability, this is where I think the key to the Mass Marine works. Okay, this is my hypothesis. Okay, so I've given you the tools on how it runs. I've given you some evidence for why it runs well. Okay, why it works well. now we're going to, but sort of how I would run it and how I think you should run it. But now we're going to talk about how my theory behind the reason it works. Okay? Now, I could be wrong here. Tell me whether you agree or disagree. What's generally the meta in 8th edition? Generally speaking, there's always two metas, isn't there? There's, massive, big, elite units, like knights, or it's hordes, right? So what do people prepare to face? Hordes or knights? Guardsman equivalent or knight equivalent? But what people don't really factor into their equation is what's in between those two. Because if you're bringing weapons to deal with a knight, then you're bringing weapons to deal with pretty much most anti-tank. Because a las cannon hurts a knight just as much as it hurts a Lehman Russ, for example. And if you're bringing anti-horde, then, you know, massive amounts of firepower, such as, you know, mass las guns, mass infantry weapons in general. You know, you're kind of expecting that, you know, that those units you're facing are going to have a bad armor save, bad toughness. Toughness 3 with a 5 up armor save is pretty typical. You might get toughness 4 with a 6 up armor save, but statistically that's exactly the same thing. So you bring weapons like massive amounts of las guns, you know, maybe heavy bolters, but not really, not even heavy bolters. No one brings heavy bolters anymore. When was the last time you saw someone bringing a heavy bolter outside of a guard army? Very rarely. People don't even bother. So, what does that mean? But Space Marines are neither that. Space Marines, if you shoot a las cannon at a Space Marine, you've overkilled. Because you know what? A scout's going to jump in front of it. Well done, your las cannon, you know, killed an 11-point model. Or if I get a Marine to jump in front of it, I got a 6-up chance of saving it. Well done. Not really enough damage output there, is there? Second option, but then people start shooting mass las guns at you, but guess what? Mass las guns aren't really going to cut it for bringing down, you know, wounding on 5s, and I got a 3-up armor save, and I'm probably going to be in cover with my Marines, because I love to cover hop. You know, 2-up saves, wounding on 5s, it's not exactly ideal, is it? So, unless someone is spamming something like heavy bolters, and guess what? No one spams the heavy bolters or assault cannons anymore, do they? No one. That's so early. That's so last year. That's early 8th edition. You know, that's early 8th. So, that's why I think it works, because people don't bring the weapons to deal with it. Now, my Black Templar army is not necessarily the ideal way of running it. I am incredibly weak to psychic damage. If I was to run this army as not Black Templars, I definitely want to get like a couple of librarians in there to give me some denial capability. At the moment, I'm relying on one stratagem to deny psychic power. If someone wants to start smite spamming me, but then again, guess what? Smite spam's not really a thing anymore, is it? 1 or 2 people can pull it off. But like 1,000 Suns don't really do it on a competitive level. Neither do Grey Knights, which are the 2 armies that typically smite spam you. Eldar can do it, but typically you see things like Dark Eldar these days. And you see less real Eldar, don't you? So it's tough. It is tough. Now I don't know how. You know, I need to take this list. Last time I took this list to tournament was a while ago, but I recently used it against a tournament Eldar Shining Spear Death Blob, and I was able to beat it. Now, I had to play to the mission, but both sides were really, but it went to turn 7, and I still managed to win it, and both sides were badly beaten up. So, you know, I do have credentials to my name here. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Have you run Masked Marine, and have you found it successful? What have you found as your combos to make it work? I love my Black Templars. I love the fact that I can take them to tournaments and, you know, come home with at least a win. But what do you guys think? What have you found works in your, not just Masked Marine armies, What have you found works on a competitive scale for Marines? Or what have you seen? Seen at things like LVO. What have you seen that works? Put it down in the comments below. Let's see if we can get a whole melting pot, mixing pot of Marine tactics here. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. And of course, I will see you guys next time.